My ex-wife Diana and I have 3 boys, a teen, a tween, and a younger tween. We divorced pretty much after the youngest was born. We also both remarried. She married Christopher and got a divorce last year after 7 years of marriage. I'm still happily married to my wife Jessica Christopher, and my boys were pretty close. And they were bummed when the divorce happened. I always got along with the dude a few months after the divorce. Christopher disclosed that the divorce was over, his being diagnosed with cancer, and Diana not wanting to be his nurse aide or responsible for his medical bills. Checks out he told me this because he wanted to leave whatever he had to. My kids, unfortunately, had no family of his own. Obviously, I said of course, and signed the paperwork a few months ago. I got a call from a social worker saying that Christopher was a few months from dying and unable to care for himself. He gave her my number. They needed someone to help with end of life. He had made me his power of attorney. He was living in a county hospice, and my wife and I moved him into our home because he deserved to live his final days in dignity. It also taught my kids about compassion. Unfortunately, he died after 2 weeks. My wife, myself, my kids and a few of our friends are planning to spread his ashes at the beach this weekend. Diana asked if she could attend, and I told her to kick rocks. She wanted nothing to do with him when he was dying. I'm not saying Christopher was a burden, but it's really sad that this dude had to reach out to his ex-wife's first husband. As he did, it was clearly more her responsibility. I said she couldn't sit and let us do all the hard work, so she could come in at the end, as the grieving widow. My oldest son thinks I should let her come, and I told him to mind his own business and mouth. I'm not going to sugarcoat your mom for you. Your mom is a witch and will be treated the same way she treated your stepdad. Am I the idiot for banning my son's mom from a memorial because she divorced him for being sick and didn't lift a finger while we were taking care of him? Edit. He left them $10,000 each. He requested half to go to a charity and the other half be used for something fun. Some of it will be saved. His social worker said it's quite common. She even has cases involving children who are dying or sick with no family around. There are people whose hobby is to go to memorials for people who die alone. Not the idiot, your ex is an absolute ghoul to divorce a man for having an illness. That's the most polite way I could phrase this. It's terribly sad one matter is not having family at all. Another is to be divorced because you're dying. How can you abandon a person for that? Not having your ex-wife around at the memorial is just a form of respect for the dude. I have a genetic mutation that causes me to be at high risk for certain cancers. And as a single woman, one of my greatest fears is being abandoned. Because I get sick, I disagree you are the idiot. Oh, not for excluding Diana from the ceremony that's probably for the best for everyone else and for her. But I told him to mind his own business and mouth. Your mom is a witch way to talk to your son who is showing compassion in a matter that very much is his business. Up, you're a role model for your sons. You show them what kind of men you want them to be through your words and actions. You've just demonstrated extraordinary kindness to a man in his last days and then undone all that. With your comments about their mother keeping things factual is fine, but it's still his mom, and he's just a kid. He clearly cares about her since he's pleading on her behalf. There were kind of ways to tell him no, and your reasoning, and oh Lord, caregiving is awful. My grandmother died just over a year ago, and I watched my mother take care of her. It's soul-draining work. Di might have known herself well enough to know that she couldn't do that. I'm not saying that you should welcome her with open arms and include her in the ceremony, but treat your kids with the compassion you're trying to instill in them, and don't degrade their mother to your children, even if you think she's behaved badly. I 100% judge her. If they gotten divorced on paper, and she lived by her vows, that's one thing. But you can't get to nope out when things are hard. Then parachute back in and play the bereaved widow. She shouldn't have silenced his son. I agree, but his son needs to hear what he's saying, because Dad believes his mom would do the exact same to any of her children. As she did to her ex, he wants his oldest to guard himself from that. I could see where that is a hard conversation worth having. She betrayed her vows. She's a witch, end of story. The kids should absolutely be made aware of the fact that their mom is a horrible human being. My husband and I have 4 kids. Evan 20, Adriana teen, Elizabeth teen and Michael teen. We tried to travel 3 or 4 times a year 3 years ago. The night before we were supposed to leave, my friend told us we couldn't use her cabin anymore. We were all looking for new places, and Adriana sent a listing for this small town in the middle of nowhere. We ignored it the first few times she sent it. But she eventually talked us into looking at it, and it was perfect. We paid a little over $200 a night for a beautiful cabin on the lake, with a game room and enough beds to allow everyone to get their own bed. The people were great, the drive wasn't bad, and there were actually a lot of things to do there. It's become one of our favorite vacation spots when Adriana was a little younger. We pretty much started letting her book family vacations. She had to run everything by us first, but she was the one who chose where we went and where we stayed. Her only condition is that she gets first pick of rooms and beds. She's even booked an international vacation for us, including flights and a rental car. We've given the other kids opportunities to help with vacations. They all know if they can find a place we'd want to go and stay within a budget. They can get first dibs if we book it. The problems are that they have a hard time sticking to a budget, or this are on a specific place. Even if it's not suitable for everyone, they'll pick a hotel or rental that's nearly the entire or over the vacation budget, or doesn't have enough rooms because it has a specific feature. Because of this, we almost always go with Adriana's choice. We recently spent 3 nights in a cabin with 3 bedrooms. 2 rooms had a king bed, and a non-suite third had 4 twin beds. Adriana chose one of the rooms with the king beds. There was a pull-out couch available, but none of them wanted it after we left. They were upset that Adriana got her room and bathroom while the rest had to share. I told them they knew the deal, and that if they could find a place for everyone, stay within budget, and pick a place we'd all want to go to. They could also choose their room and bed. They say they try, but we always pick Adriana's listings. I told them her listings are usually more practical. We paid under $600 for the cabin we stayed at after taxes and fees. It had so many free activities nearby that the 3-day vacation for 6 people was just under $1,000. They can't beat it with a $1,800 listing with 2 beds in a single bathroom. They think we're being unfair and should rotate who books the vacations and chooses the rooms. But I just don't have that kind of money to throw away, and I'm not going to deal with the fighting that will inevitably come when they pick a place with not enough beds or bathrooms. You are the idiot. This is a joke, right? You let her book a place with 2 rooms with king beds and 1 bunk room, and then gave her the private room and bath, while the other 3 kids, including 2 boys and a girl, shared a room and bath. B. Yes, no wonder they're angry. No wonder why it's cheaper plan your own vacations if you genuinely believe this to be fair. Then you should take the crappy room or pull out sometime since you're not doing the research either. It's more fair if the person booking has no say over where they sleep, because then they're incentivized to find something that is as equitable as possible. How do you know she couldn't find an even nicer place within budget with 1 king suite and 2 bunk rooms? That's a very common setup. She was incentivized to disregard them, knowing a second suite would benefit her when the time came to choose rooms. Your other kids just sound bad at math. And/or research and/or strategy, which is unfortunate, but not a good reason to keep giving them the short end of the stick. I'm sure their future therapists will agree the more I look, the more it seems the problem is up not. Adriana OP only cares about money and doesn't care about the children. Adriana is just a PA in this, cause she likes this stuff, but unfortunately is causing her relationship with life and her siblings to go south as long as it's cheap. Op will take it, and it's likely that she would take the cheaper option. Even if the rest came with a location, just $100 more. I lost my first husband when our children Kayla, 24 female, and Hawthorne, 26 male, were 6 and 8 years old. I remarried 4 years later. I met my husband a year after losing my late husband. We were friends for several months dated. Some stronger feelings developed, and I introduced him to the kids to see how they would get along. We halted for a year while my kids and I did some therapy because their reaction to my husband was strongly adverse because they didn't want to replace their dad. But once therapy was ongoing, they were doing better from there. Things moved faster, but the kids were on board for things to move on. They were clear, however, that my husband would not be filling the role of a dad in their lives. My husband said he was okay with that as long as he was respected and they could work towards being a caring family caller. And I were always close. But she was a real daddy's girl. Losing her dad was extremely tough for her. She formed a nice relationship with my husband, but it comes nowhere close to her bond with her dad. From the age of 12, she and I became much closer. My parenting style, as well as my willingness to talk about her dad, even after I remarried, made me someone she felt she could be open with. She was 15 when she told me if she ever got married, she would want me to walk her down the AIS, and for us to do a mother-daughter dance, instead of her father-daughter, one I told her we could dance to the song her dad used to sing to her. She said she loved the idea, even though she seemed to mean it. I always assumed things would change when she got older. I figured she would choose to walk alone with her brother as a representation of her dad and their close relationship, as well as for the societal expectation for a man to do it, or with her husband. But when she got engaged 3 weeks ago, she immediately asked me. She brought up our past conversation and told me she wanted precisely that I told her I would be honored. We cried tears of joy together. I told her that her dad would be so proud my husband took the news in a way I didn't expect. His first question was whether I suggested she ask us both to do it. And I told him no. Then he asked if she considered asking him, and I said that I couldn't answer that for her. He asked me if I thought of him when I said yes. He asked whether I thought about all he's done for Kayla for both kids, and that he's still not looked upon as a fatherly figure all these years later. I told him I didn't think of him when I asked, because I was overjoyed. He told me I should have given him a lot more consideration, and I should have tried to compromise with my daughter. I thought he would change his stance, but now, 3 weeks on, he feels I was wrong. He told me he felt he deserved more from me. Especially me. He said I'm his wife. I should ensure he is respected and honored for his contribution to the kids' lives. Am I the idiot edit? He's not contributing financially to the wedding, ignoring everything else about his entitlement and total idiocy. You should ask him, why are you more worthy of respect and honouring Kerr's life than me does? He think you don't deserve these honours, misogynistic traditions, blah blah, not the idiot. This is a ridiculously happy and exciting time for you and your daughter. And your husband is making it all about himself. He's one of those guys who thinks he did the single mom and her kids a favour with his presence. And he's been wasting all this time to collect on what he's owed. Right, the girl considers him a father figure, or she doesn't? Nobody's saying he didn't contribute, but what kind of honour is it really if she has to be strong-armed into it? What meaning would it really have? Is he really grasping for such a shallow honour? But I guess the fact that it's meaningless is irrelevant once everyone gets to see how respected he is. It's his wedding, after all. The selfish daughter trying to make his wedding all about her is gross. Am I right? What a man. What a dad I cannot imagine. I'm a daughter's beau-a-fay. I'd be gutted if she asked her mom to walk her down the aisle when she got married, but damn, I'd pretend I wasn't. It's not your day, not your emotions. It's all about me. Me, your husband is dead wrong. This isn't about him and all he's done, it's about Kayla. She lost her dad, and while the grief fades a bit over the years, big events bring it roaring back in at least. That's been my experience. Her wedding is going to be bittersweet. She needs her parent, the one she's always had, and the one who loved her dad to give her away. I'm surprised that you expected Calla to change her mind. She's not responsible for his feelings. You aren't either up. And I'm glad you accepted and didn't try to offer any alternate suggestions, thereby ruining the moment my teen male father cheated on my mom with her sister, aka my aunt's 38 several years ago. So you know that our relationship is a mess. I only tolerate seeing her at my grandparents' house on my grandma's and grandpa's birthdays. New Year's and other holidays, I just tell myself she's grandma's, and grandpa's other daughter mom wants to maintain a good relationship with grandma and grandpa too. So I have to be polite. I already hate my aunt enough for her betrayal, but she's taken things further than that and called my mom a bad mother for enrolling me in an international school. She said that people like evil British teachers regularly corrupt our youths and westernize them. So yeah, paranoid idiot as well as homewrecker yesterday at my grandpa's birthday, I finally lost it. I flipped out at her when she called my mom a lousy mom. Yet again, I told her it's bad enough that you're a backstabbing witch, but you're also a hypocrite. Your perfume, Western, your clothing. Western, your medications. Western, but me going to a British school is wrong. How about you screw off my grandpa, who was way coarse than I could ever be said nothing? I think he was slightly impressed. I finally got the guts to stand up to her. My grandma was not so amused. She quickly scolded me, saying I should try to exercise some restraint instead of blowing up like that. Am I the idiot for calling out my aunt for her hypocrisy? Eddie, my father, is no longer in our lives. He disappeared after things didn't work out between him and my aunt. Not the idiot, your response was justified, and she deserved it. Good for you for standing up for yourself, your mother, and what you believe in. Remove her from your life. Considering what she did to her sister, the real question is, why is she still in good grace with her parents? Because it's their daughter. The parents may have been afraid of losing contact with a child. I've seen the same thing happen multiple times. Grandma saying Op should exercise some restraint instead of blowing up like that. Sounds like I didn't like you raising your voice and swearing you should be calmer when speaking truths. I think secretly your grandma wanted to pat you. Up? I think Mom should have drawn a boundary long ago, and you can tell Grandma Dearest that you've exercised restraint for years, and the only result is your aunts bolstered her already awful behaviour, while she allowed your mother to be insulted to her face repeatedly under her roof. I have a hunch between your mother and your aunt which one was Grandma Dearest favourite child. I hope you and your mother DRO them like sad bags of crap once you reach 18.